My boyfriend vanished for 7 days while we were in the middle of a Cold War. 7 long days without a word, without a single message, without a glance in my direction. When I finally discovered where he had been, the answer cut deeper than silence ever could. Ryan Hale had been busy taking care of the white moonlight in his heart, Olivia Bennett, who had just gone through an abortion. When I showed up unexpectedly, he pressed his lips together, irritation flickering across his face, as if my presence was nothing but a disturbance. He frowned, his voice heavy, trying to sound patient. "The baby wasn't mine, Isabella, don't overthink this." I laughed softly, almost weightless, as if the entire situation had nothing to do with me. "I know," I said with a calmness that must have unsettled him. "It belonged to a married man." His eyes darkened instantly like storm clouds swallowing the last trace of sunlight. He looked at me as though I had just desecrated some sacred image he kept of her, as if I had soiled the flawless purity of his precious Olivia. I didn't bother to explain myself any further. I turned away and let my fingers slide across the screen of my phone, opening the campus forum where students were buzzing over the same old question. Did Ryan Hale and Isabella Lopez finally break up today? Without hesitation, I tapped out a sparkling confetti emoji and a short reply. "We broke up." I hit send and locked the screen. That was my answer to the world broadcast like a headline, and my way of closing the door on us. On the 7th day since Ryan disappeared, fate had its cruel sense of humor. I ran into him at an apartment complex near downtown Tempe, the same building where I worked as a tutor for a family. He was carrying 2 bulging grocery bags. One was full of vegetables and fruit, the other packed with toilet paper, toothpaste, and all kinds of household essentials. He froze when he saw me, but to my disappointment, there was no panic, no guilt on his face, just a brief pause before he composed himself. Without offering any explanation, he led me upstairs. That was when I met the woman of legend face to face. Olivia Bennett lay pale on the bed, recovering from her procedure. Her fragile body propped up by pillows. "She just had surgery," Ryan said, carefully avoiding my eyes. "She doesn't have anyone else to take care of her. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to overthink things." My gaze dropped to the floor, where right by the entrance, 2 pairs of slippers rested neatly side by side. A man's pair, a woman's pair. I didn't need to overthink anything. The evidence was plain and cruel. When Olivia noticed me, panic flashed in her eyes. She tried to sit up too quickly and nearly toppled over, her face pale. Ryan immediately dropped the grocery bags and rushed to steady her, his hands trembling with urgency, his brows knitted in pure concern, his attention completely consumed by her. In that moment, I ceased to exist. I stood at the doorway, watching with cold detachment. Olivia's voice shook as she forced a polite smile. "I'm fine. Ryan, invite our guest in." Guest. That was what I had become. The kitchen smelled faintly of broth as Ryan washed vegetables at the sink. Tonight's dinner was hot pot. The kind of meal meant for 2. Intimate and warm. But there I was, the unwanted third wheel. Even the chopsticks he handed me were disposable, flimsy, and cheap, as though I were a stranger who would not be staying long. Olivia's smile was soft, almost apologetic. "I'm sorry, I don't have any close friends here, so I could only rely on Ryan. I didn't know he hadn't told you yet. Please don't take it to heart. He's not the most delicate man in these matters." I smiled faintly, but said nothing. What words could possibly fit in such a distorted scene? The meal passed in suffocating silence, broken only by the faint clatter of chopsticks and the bubbling of the pot. When I finally rose to leave, Ryan followed me downstairs. Under the weak glow of the streetlight, our shadows stretched long on the pavement, close together, yet impossibly far apart. He broke the silence first, his voice low. "Are you mad I didn't answer?" He hesitated, then continued. "She only needs a couple more weeks to recover. I wanted to wait until it was over before telling you. I didn't want you to worry or make things harder." A bitter smile tugged at my lips. What kind of surgery lets someone recover fully in just 2 weeks? His brows furrowed, and after a pause, he finally muttered, "It was an abortion, but it had nothing to do with me." Don't misunderstand. The corners of my mouth curled into a smile that never reached my eyes. I know. The child wasn't yours. It belonged to a married man. The words had barely left my lips before his hand shot out and clamped around my wrist. His grip was iron-crushing, sending pain shooting up my arm. I winced, my brow creasing. You investigated her? His voice was sharp, almost accusing. I met his gaze calmly. No need to investigate. It was all written clearly on that website you hacked, wasn't it? His jaw tightened, his hand trembling as his fingers pressed harder into my skin. His eyes were dark, searching, furious. For the first time I saw him like this, a stranger hidden beneath the familiar face I had loved. He stared at me in silence for so long that I thought he might never let go. Finally, with a heavy exhale, he released me. His shoulders slumped slightly, his voice quieter now. There's nothing between me and Olivia. Stop targeting her. I'm not holding this against you, but it has to stop. He raised his arm, signaling for a taxi. The yellow car rolled up to the curb, headlights cutting through the night. He opened the door, not even looking at me as he stepped aside. I slipped inside without protest. The driver pulled away, and as the city lights blurred past the window, I pressed my lips together, tasting the bitterness of everything unspoken. That night, under the vast Arizona sky, I realized how far apart Ryan and I had drifted. Our shadows might have stretched together on the street, but our hearts had already walked separate roads. I slipped obediently into the cab, not saying another word. As the car began to roll forward, I lowered the window, let the dry Arizona night air brush against my face, and whispered with a faint trace of relief, "Ryan, Hale, let's stop here." At 9 o'clock that evening, I opened my laptop with a calmness that felt almost foreign to me. The campus forum was buzzing as it always did, gossip flying faster than any lecture notes ever could. The headline was the same question that had trailed me for months. Did Ryan Hale and Isabella Lopez finally break up today? My fingers moved without hesitation. I typed a single line, added a bright confetti emoji, and pressed send. We broke up. The thread exploded instantly. It was hotter than the day we had announced our relationship, hotter than any news about his programming competitions, hotter even than rumors about Olivia Bennett. In less than a minute, dozens of comments poured in. Is this true? Has to be. Ryan's been gone for days? He probably dumped her already. Girl, where did you hear this from? If you're not lying, I'll believe it for real this time. So the lovesick girl finally got dumped, huh? I scrolled briefly, then typed one last reply. Yes, it's true. I'm that lovesick girl, Isabella Lopez. I hit send, closed the screen, and deleted every trace of him from my phone. It felt like erasing stains from glass, wiping everything clean. For the first time in so long, I could breathe. Tonight, I would sleep deeply, without fear of missing his calls, without waking at dawn to buy the soy milk he liked, without worrying about jealous girls knocking on my door, without trembling that one day he might abandon me. The truth was, he already had. The next morning, I woke lighter than I had in months. If I had known earlier, I would have spared myself from ever liking him at all. On the second day after the breakup, after a week of absence, Ryan finally appeared in front of the dorms at Arizona State University. He had not shaved his face, looked rough, and his clothes were wrinkled and stained. Students passing by slowed to stare at him, some whispering, as if they could not reconcile this disheveled figure with the golden boy of computer science. Had he ever looked this pitiful for me? Probably not. Can we talk? He asked, voice hoarse. I did not refuse. I chose a small cafe just off Maple Street, the one with the cakes I loved. I had invited him here 2 or 3 times before, and every time he had declined, too busy or uninterested. Today he followed me in without protest, his shoulders heavy. I ordered my favorite pastry, and when it arrived, I took a bite, letting the sweetness melt on my tongue. My mood even lifted slightly enough to ask almost playfully, "So what brings you out? Olivia doesn't need you anymore." His brow tightened immediately, his tone defensive. Do you have to say it like that? Like what? I tilted my head, feigning innocence. I was only curious. She still needs someone to take care of her, doesn't she? He exhaled, pushed his coffee cup away. I know you're angry, but you need to understand. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not good at comforting people, that's true, but I haven't betrayed you. A short laugh escaped me. That's right, you've never known how to comfort me. He leaned closer, his eyes sharp, his voice dropping lower. So I'll ask you again. Do you really want to break up? I lowered my gaze, spoon in hand, and slowly carved through the small, heart-shaped cake in front of me. Piece by piece, I ate it until only a mangled corner remained. Then I stabbed it one last time and lifted my eyes to his. It's not that I want to break up. We already have. His face grew colder than the untouched Americano between us. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone, opened our chat, and deleted everything right in front of me. I hope you don't regret this, he said flatly. He stood ready to walk away. As he passed my chair, something inside me acted on impulse. I reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt. He stopped looking down at me, and the corner of his mouth curved upward in a smile. That was far too confident, as though he believed he had already won. Perhaps he thought I would beg. Perhaps he thought I would cry. He thought wrong. Slowly, deliberately, I let go of the fabric, sat up straighter, and met his eyes without flinching. My voice was steady, almost businesslike. We're exes now. This meal should be split in half. For a moment, surprise flickered in his eyes, then vanished under another mask of coldness. He walked away without another word. Back at the dorm, my roommate Tracy Nguyen nearly shook me by the shoulders, refusing to believe what had happened. You really broke up with him? No way. If he comes back to apologize if he begs. Would you take him back? You're too calm, Isabella. It's scary. Are you sure you won't do something reckless out of heartbreak? Her panic made me laugh softly, though inside I was asking myself the same question. Why was I so calm? I had once believed I could not live without Ryan Hale. I had once gambled my entire future, even my life, for him. I was an art student, painting since childhood, living in colors and sketches. The boys around me were dreamers with unruly hair and eyes that saw the world in wild strokes, full of a bohemian fire. Ryan was nothing like them. He was a new color I had never seen, bright and unfamiliar, dazzling like fresh snow. In art, there is no absolute right answer, only interpretation, only feeling. But in his world, there was only one solution, one path, one truth. And in the equation of his life, the right answer to the variable called girlfriend had never been me. It had always been the one who would follow him to graduate school at Arizona State, the one who would stay with him in Tempe, the one who would abandon her own colors to fit into the blank spaces of his. In Ryan's world, love was a problem with only one correct answer, and the right answer was never me. To him, the perfect girlfriend was someone who would stay in Tempe, pursue graduate school at Arizona State with him, and work thereafter. But Arizona State had no art graduate program. For me to fit into his plan, I would have to abandon the only thing that ever defined me. So I did. I put down my brushes, ignored the advice of professors and friends, and gave up the chance of studying abroad. I buried myself in the library, drowning in dry core courses. I despised cramming formulas and case studies that smothered every spark of creativity in me. My friends stared at me with disbelief. Isabella, don't you love painting? How can you throw it away so easily for a guy? Their logic was sound, I knew it, but I was no longer logical. I was an art student whose brain had been hijacked by love. For Ryan, I would do anything. Tracy. Nguyen scolded me more than once. You're blind, Isa, totally blind. If he breaks your heart, you'll never recover. I laughed her off, insisting I knew what I was doing, but deep down, I already feared she was right. When did my clarity return? I think it was that birthday, the moment everything inside me collapsed. That morning, I woke with excitement tingling in every vein. It was my birthday, the one day I thought I could demand all of him. He had promised it would just be the two of us, no Olivia, no competitions, no excuses. I spent 2 hours hunting for the perfect vanity mirror as my gift to myself. I slipped into the dress I had bought long ago but never dared to wear, painted my lips carefully, and told myself this would be the day he finally saw me, really saw me. But life rarely cares for promises. As I crossed the street, I spotted him ahead. My heart leapt. My heels clicked faster. Just as I was about to call his name, his phone rang. He answered, his expression shifting to urgency, and without even glancing in my direction, he bolted. No explanation, not a single word, just the sight of his back retreating. I stumbled after him, wobbling on heels I hadn't mastered. My ankle twisted sharply, sending pain shooting up my leg. I cried out softly, certain he must have heard, but he never turned around. He just ran. I called. He didn't answer. I texted. No reply. There was no movie, no dinner, no birthday. That night, while others laughed with candles and friends, I searched for him through my tears. His roommate shrugged when I asked. He hadn't come back to the dorm. My birthday slipped away into a sleepless night of worry and dread. The next morning, I found him at the campus internet cafe. He sat hunched over a computer headset pressed against his ear, speaking into the mic with a voice I had never heard before, cold and calculating. I hacked the site already, don't worry. Legal or not, it's done. It's none of your business. If Isabella finds out and makes trouble, then I'll just break up with her. Relax, she's so into me she wouldn't dare. Each word struck like a nail hammered into my chest. I froze behind a poster stand, every syllable burning into me, every drop of love curdling into pain. Tears fell freely, unstoppable, as if my body had betrayed me too. He was so certain of me, so confident in my weakness. He believed my love was a chain binding me to him, that no matter what he did, I would endure, forgive, crawl back. And maybe he was right until that moment. Because the person on the other end of that call could only be Olivia Bennett. For her, he would break every rule, cross every line, even hack a website illegally. For me, he couldn't lift a finger to delete a single cruel post. That infamous thread had haunted me from the first day we started dating. Did Ryan, Hale, and Isabella Lopez finally break up today? It stuck like a curse. Ryan was the golden boy of the computer science department, representing ASU in competitions admired by professors and classmates alike. And I was the clingy art girl, shamelessly chasing him the frog, trying to eat swan meat. That was what they called me, what they posted online. It didn't stop at words. They dug through my life, posted stolen pictures, unflattering shots, private details. Every walk across campus felt like walking through a storm of whispers. Every lecture was pierced with the click of a hidden phone camera. The thread spread like poison until I carried it like a brand on my skin. One night, my eyes swollen and red, I had gone to Ryan and begged, "Can you delete it for me, please?" I can still see the look on his face, cold and unwavering. No, I can't hack into a site to delete someone else's post. Isabella. I study computer science to build, not to break laws. If it were discovered, it would ruin me. Don't call the police either. It would stain the school's reputation. Do you think that would make things better for you? But then for Olivia, laws didn't matter. For her, principles vanished. He broke every boundary he once claimed sacred. I remembered Tracy's voice, sharp and desperate, telling me I was blind. She had been right. I was blind, but that day behind that poster in the dim light of the internet cafe, my eyes finally opened. Ryan had once told me that if he were ever discovered hacking a site, he would be the one punished. He urged me not to report anything to the police, because if the authorities got involved, it would damage Arizona State's reputation and stain us both. Would that make things better for you? He had asked. The words felt like a wall closing in a warning that my pain mattered less than the school's name. But then he added something that split me open. If you really want the post to disappear, there is one way. My heart lurched. I clutched his sleeve desperately, begging, what way? His eyes stayed cold as stone. Break up with me. That's the only way. The post will die if you and I end. That was his answer. For me, he would not lift a finger, not even bend his so-called principles. Yet for Olivia Bennett, he had already broken laws, hacked a site crossed lines he once said were sacred. My hands shook as I reached for my phone, typing out a message with trembling fingers. "Where are you?" To my shock this time, he replied instantly. "Don't worry, I'm here. I'll always be here." I froze, tears already blurring my vision. Then in an instant the message vanished. Withdrawn, deleted. I knew immediately it had not been meant for me. He had answered someone else, probably Olivia, and by chance my sudden text had pulled his hand in the wrong direction. I stared at the screen until it blurred into nothing. More than 30 missed calls from me, countless messages left unread, all ignored. And yet one reply, immediate and urgent, had slipped through by mistake. My body shook uncontrollably, my face wet before I realized I was crying. A stranger walking past glanced at me with concern and whispered, "Are you okay?" I could only nod, though I was anything but. That night Ryan came to me. His eyes were bloodshot, the whites streaked red, and his face looked worn and unfamiliar. He did not ask what was wrong. He simply whispered, "I'm sorry, I had an emergency. I'll make up your birthday to you." I lowered my head, tears still brimming, my voice trembling as though afraid he might dismiss me. "Ryan Hale, can I ask you one thing? Just one." Perhaps it was the way I used his full name for the first time, or the gravity in my tone, but something made him tense. In the next breath, he pulled me into his arms, clutching me so tightly it hurt. "Anything," he promised. "Whatever it is, I'll agree." The words spilled out of me, steady but quiet. "Erase Olivia Bennett from your life." His arms locked tighter around me, and I felt his anger flare in the way his chest rose against mine. He didn't need to look at me for me to know his jaw was clenched, his brows knotted. The retracted message, the hack. The way he always came running for her, there was no doubt left. Olivia had been his first love in high school, the white moonlight he had never let fade. She was the girl he had fought for, skipped competitions for, abandoned promises for. And me, I was the reckless girl who had chased him shamelessly, tossing away pride and future alike. For her, he would bleed, break laws, fight until his face was bruised. For her, he would throw away months of preparation. For her, he would defy his own code and hack into systems that could ruin him. For me, he would do nothing, erase her. I repeated, fighting to keep my tone calm, even as my eyes burned with betrayal. He pulled back slowly, his expression so cold it frightened me. "I can't." "So what then, Isabella? What will you do about it?" His voice dripped with certainty, as though he knew I had no strength to leave him. He had said before that I would never dare, and he had believed it. And for so long he had been right. I loved him too much, clung too tightly. But that night, something shifted in me. My heart felt both hollow and strangely filled, as though something had cracked open to make room for clarity. For the first time, the thought rose uninvited and undeniable. Break up. Tracy had asked me once, half serious, half angry. "If he refuses to let her go, will you leave him?" I had hesitated then, stammering that I didn't know. But in the days that followed, I stopped reaching for him. The texts I had once reread until I knew them by heart were deleted in one cold sweep. The photos, the keepsakes, the illusions, I erased them all. It felt uncontrollable, like someone else had taken over my hands. But it was me. It was the part of me that had grown tired of begging for scraps of affection. And then came the night of the storm. It was the third day of our silent war when I heard commotion outside the dorm. Rain hammered down in sheets, flooding the paths of campus. When I stepped out, my breath caught. Ryan stood there, drenched from head to toe, hair plastered to his forehead, water streaming down his face like tears he would never shed. He swayed slightly, reeking of alcohol, his eyes wild. He stumbled forward, collapsing against me, his head bearing into the curve of my neck, his breath hot with whiskey. "Isabella," he slurred, clutching me so hard I could hardly breathe. I erased her. Olivia's gone. His words cracked through the night like thunder. He had finally done it, the thing I thought impossible. He had cut her off. For me. But as I stood there, rain soaking my skin, his arms like chains around me, I felt nothing. No relief, no joy, no vindication. Just emptiness, confusion, and the cold certainty that whatever we had was already broken beyond repair. He staggered against me, his head buried into the hollow of my neck, the sharp smell of alcohol heavy on his breath. In all the years I had known Ryan Hale, I had never seen him like this. His weight pressed me backward, and though I tried to push him off the more, I resisted the tighter his arms locked around me until I could hardly breathe. "Ryan, you're drunk, let go," I gasped. My voice muffled by his shoulder, but he cut me off, his words thick and raw against my ear. I erased her. Olivia's gone. He said it as though it were a grand gesture, as though severing ties with Olivia Bennett erased every wound he had carved into me. He said it like he expected me to crumble with gratitude, and maybe once long ago I would have. But standing there in the downpour with his arms suffocating around me, I felt nothing. No relief, no surge of hope, just emptiness. For so long I had thought my love for him was a habit, something I couldn't quit even if I wanted to. But suddenly it felt as though the habit had broken on its own. I was bewildered, even frightened by my own lack of feeling. Whatever we were, whatever I had clung to, it had already slipped through my fingers. Still, the stormy night tangled us back together. My plan to break up was derailed, washed away in the chaos of his drunken plea. By the time the sky cleared, we had fallen back into the rhythm of before, or at least something that resembled it. The only condition he set was that I never mention Olivia's name again. That night when the rain stopped and we sat in silence, my heart was calm, like a lake with no ripples. Too calm. I opened the campus forum again, scrolling through the endless pages of that cursed thread. Did Ryan Hale and Isabella Lopez finally break up today? The posts stacked endlessly, each one a dagger. Day 6, not yet. They even went to the movies. The words dripped with disdain. What does that clingy girl have that keeps him around? I remembered that day too vividly. It had been the first time he agreed to see a movie with me, but only after I begged him over and over. He told me he hated comedies, so I bought tickets for a 3-hour documentary. I hated every second of it. I was sick that day, my stomach twisted in knots, but I forced myself to sit through it, to smile, to pretend. Because he was beside me, and that had been enough. Day 7, did they break up? Not yet. Someone saw her throwing herself at him again. Day 8. She's still fetching soy milk for him like some loyal dog. Girlfriend more like a servant. Day 9. Not yet, but he's brilliant in that programming contest. Shame his girlfriend couldn't even get a ticket inside. The comments blurred, but the images attached burned into me. Photos of me waiting in line with takeout bags, of me reaching for his sleeve, of me smiling foolishly at him as he ignored me. I stared at them until my eyes stung my chest, aching. They weren't wrong. They had captured exactly what I was, a girl consumed by love, humiliated by devotion, a fool. What had I been doing all these years? The question hit me like ice water, clearing every foggy illusion. Even if Ryan had finally deleted Olivia, it didn't matter. Nothing he erased could undo the truth. I couldn't forgive him. I told myself I would break it off no matter what. But before I could confront him, he vanished from campus. The only thing he left behind was a message on WeChat. Family emergency. Went back home. Will return in 2 weeks. Don't worry, I didn't reply. I didn't ask what had happened, didn't demand an explanation. I didn't even want to know. A few days later, one of his roommates approached me nervously. "Isabella, aren't you curious? Don't you want to know where he is?" I shook my head. There's nothing to ask. The boy hesitated, then admitted, "He told me that if you asked, I should tell you the truth. He went to see Olivia. She's in trouble, but he promised he'll cut her off when he comes back. He asked me to tell you not to worry, to wait for him. Just 2 more weeks. Please don't make things harder." I let out a small dry laugh. "I see. and I walked away. Even hearing it with my own ears, my heart didn't stir. No rage, no sorrow, not even disappointment. Just silence. While he was gone, I gathered every graduate exam prep book, every notebook I had filled with formulas I never wanted to learn, and I sold them. I had never wanted graduate school in computer science. I had never wanted the suffocating future he had planned for me. I only wanted him. But now without him, those sacrifices had no meaning. One evening, Tracy caught me packing the books into boxes. "So you're really not taking the exams?" "Then let's travel, Isa. Let's go anywhere just to breathe again." I smiled faintly, slipping a folded form out of my bag. "I can't. There's something more important than traveling." It was an application for a study abroad program in fine arts. The dream I had buried for him, the dream I had once killed with my own hands. Now it was alive again in my grip, ready to carry me away from everything. By then, graduate school no longer mattered to me. I had something far more important than exams or degrees. I walked out of the library and spent every hour I could inside the studio, the scent of paint and turpentine soaking into my skin, until I felt alive again. The wallpaper on my phone changed too. No more smiling pictures of Ryan Hale. Instead, it was my own face staring back, a quiet promise to myself. I was ready to leave him, ready to start a new life. But just when I thought the story had closed, fate tripped me again. On my way back from the studio one evening, a girl crossed my path. She brushed past me, then suddenly turned and called out, "Are you and Ryan Hale really over?" I glanced back vaguely, recognizing her face, but unable to place her. I had no interest in answering, no interest in any conversation that tied me back to him. I quickened my pace, hoping to escape. But her next words stopped me cold. "I know who wrote that post." The world around me froze. My body stiffened, my mind struck blank like lightning splitting the sky. She looked harmless round glasses, an oversized backpack, the picture of a quiet, diligent student. I could hardly reconcile her appearance with the venom that had haunted me online. We sat down in a cafe near campus, the kind of place where life always seemed ordinary. But inside, my world was crumbling. Over a single cup of coffee and 30 minutes of her steady voice, she handed me a truth I couldn't accept. Isabella, the thread was Ryan. He posted it. The words sliced through me. I stumbled back toward the dorms afterward, the city lights a blur. My body moved on instinct, but my mind was suspended in some nightmare haze. For 2 years, I had chased him, endured rejection after rejection, until one winter, he finally said yes. I thought it was because of my persistence, because my sincerity had melted him. Maybe I told myself he truly liked me. But all of it had been a joke. The girl's voice echoed in my skull. "He only agreed because he discovered Dylan liked you. Dylan Hale, his half-brother, the one he despised most." Ryan had found Dylan's sketchbook by accident. Every page was filled with me sketched, painted, worshipped. And Ryan, with his endless spite for Dylan, saw me as nothing more than a weapon. "Your goddess is nothing but a dog chasing after me," he had sneered to someone. What a gift! I wanted to cover my ears, but the words kept repeating, stabbing me again and again. The thread hadn't even been that popular in the beginning. Ryan had manipulated the data himself, pushing it to the top until it went viral. He wanted the whole campus to laugh at me, to sneer, to humiliate me daily. I don't even remember how I got back to my dorm. I only remember the emptiness, the bitter realization that from beginning to end, Ryan had never loved me. Every time he left me waiting, every time he pressured me to change majors, every cruel silence, all of it had been part of a revenge game he played against Dylan. And me, I was collateral damage. The girl who wrecked her own future for him. The girl who believed humiliation was proof of devotion. The words from the forum pounded in my skull. "The frog wants to eat swan meat. Pathetic leech. Shameless. It was him all along." His voice disguised through strangers, his laughter, hidden behind screens. Even the cruelest insults, the ones so vicious the site took them down, had come from him. I thought of the way I had walked across campus with people whispering behind me, how I had hidden my face in lectures, while phones clicked photos from behind, how my heart had raced every time I opened that cursed thread. I had asked myself if I was truly that awful, if I really was unworthy of him. Slowly, I had become what he painted me to be: anxious, insecure, a shadow of who I once was. I was no longer Isabella Lopez, the bright, confident art student. I was just the puppet in Ryan Hale's cruel theater, punished for feelings I had never asked Dylan to have. If not for the friend who couldn't stomach his cruelty anymore, I might never have known. I might have lived in that blindness forever. I clenched my fists until my nails dug into my skin, leaving raw crescents of red. I felt no pain, only rage. For so long I thought the story was over between us, but that night I realized it wasn't over at all. "We are far from finished, Ryan Hale," I whispered to the empty room. The next morning I dialed Olivia Bennett's number. My voice was flat, steady. "Stop bothering Ryan. If you're not afraid of becoming the other woman again, I'll expose you a second time." There was silence on the other end, so long I thought she might hang up. Finally her voice came through, softer than I expected. "I heard you and Ryan broke up, so what?" My words dripped with ice. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I didn't think it would hurt you like this. I was never trying to be the other woman. Ryan he loses control when it comes to me. He doesn't think of consequences." She hesitated before continuing. "I told him to go back to apologize. He said you just need time to calm down. But Isabella, every girl needs comforting sometimes. Do you really think you can forgive him?" Her tone carried a double edge, a hidden triumph beneath the apology. She wanted me to know he treated her differently, that she mattered more. She wanted to plant doubt to remind me I had always been second. I almost laughed. Let her think what she wanted. Let her believe she was untouchable. "I will forgive him," I said softly. I could feel her surprise through the silence. She hadn't expected that answer. Then I added, sharp as glass, "So stop calling him. He chose me. He deleted you. He stood under my dorm window in the rain to apologize. He said I was the one." There was a pause and then a laugh that dripped with condescension. "If that's what you believe, then fine. But tell me, when he abandoned you on your birthday to hack a website just for me, does that not bother you? When he threw away months of preparation for a contest to come to my side, do you feel nothing?" My hand tightened around the phone. My voice came out flat. "Final, don't lie to me. He told me once he would never break the law. But for me, he did." "Check for yourself," she challenged. "That site went down that night. Everyone's talking about it. Ryan did it for me, not you." She hung up before I could reply. Seconds later, new messages flashed across my screen. Screenshots, evidence messages between her and Ryan, proof of what he had done. Each one burned, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of a response. All I typed back was one sentence: "I envy you, Olivia." But inside, something colder had settled. This wasn't forgiveness. This was war. Olivia's voice on the phone was deceptively soft, but every word dripped with arrogance. She said she had told Ryan to go back to me to apologize, that I would calm down eventually, because no girl can live without comfort. The implication was clear. She believed she was the one he cared for more deeply. She wanted me to feel small, to hear the comparison, to know she held the upper hand. I let her talk, let her brag, because I needed her to. When I finally spoke, I gave her the answer she least expected. "I will forgive him." She went silent for a few beats, surprised. I pressed on, my voice steady. "Olivia, don't meddle anymore. The person he wants is me. He deleted you." He stood in the rain outside my dorm to apologize, and he told me I was the one. "Did you know that?" A bitter laugh rang out across the line. "If that's what you believe, fine. I even wish you happiness. But tell me, Isabella, when he abandoned you on your birthday to hack into a site for me, does that not bother you? When he skipped months of competition prep just to come running because of me, does that not matter?" I clenched my jaw. "Don't lie to me. He once swore he would never break the law. But for me, he did. Check the facts yourself," she snapped. Page 30 went down. "Everyone's talking about it. Ryan did that for me, not you." The line went dead. Within minutes, I received a friend request from an unfamiliar account. I accepted, and immediately the messages began pouring in: screenshots, chat logs, proof of Ryan's conversations with her, evidence of the hacked site. Her final message cut sharp. It wasn't me chasing him. It was him losing control the moment he heard my name. I stared at the images until my chest ached, then typed my final reply. I envy you, Olivia. It was all she would get from me. But inside, my resolve hardened. This was not envy. This was preparation. When Ryan returned to campus, I was already gone traveling with my professor to an arts exhibition in another state. On the bus, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Wait for me to talk when you're back. I didn't need to guess who it was. I didn't respond, just quietly re-added him on WeChat. Within 60 seconds, he accepted and messaged. The final programming competition before graduation is coming up. Focus on it. Forget the past. Let's make peace. I have a surprise for you. Wait for me, I replied simply. Okay. For once, he even sent an emoji. I answered with a smiley face. He must have thought it meant reconciliation. Just like my mother, he never knew how to use emojis properly. He probably believed my tiny digital smile meant I was wagging my tail again, loyal and forgiving as always. But he didn't know that his precious competition, the one that meant everything to him, would be the stage where I delivered my own surprise. That night, the thread on the forum, dormant since our breakup, suddenly updated. Isabella Lopez and Ryan Hale are back together. This post will be deleted. They will not break up. I stared at the words in disbelief. What game was he playing now? Stranger still, all 200 comments under the post had vanished, wiped out in one stroke, leaving only that single announcement. The handiwork was obvious. It was Ryan's style, his signature. But the detail that chilled me most was this. Only he and I knew we had spoken again, which meant he had manipulated the narrative before I even had a chance to think. I didn't fully understand his angle, but it didn't matter. Every vile comment, every photo, every scrap of evidence, I had already saved them. The exhibition wasn't even finished before I asked permission to return early. Ryan's competition was just 2 days away, and I needed to be there to set everything in motion. Oddly, he struck first. He handed me a single ticket to the event, his eyes softer than I remembered. I only have one, he said. So it has to be for you. You know how important this contest is to me. I want you there. I smiled faintly and took the ticket, murmuring thanks. But in my chest, my heart was steel. He thought he was giving me a gift. He thought he was binding me to him with the gesture of inclusion. What he didn't know was that I had already chosen the role I would play in his grand finale. This competition means everything to me, you know. That Ryan said, pressing the ticket into my hand. His eyes flickered with a rare softness, a relief I hadn't seen in years. I forced a smile, murmuring thanks, promising I would be there. He exhaled as though he had been holding his breath, and then almost casually he added, "Tomorrow let's go to the movies. A comedy this time." For a moment, hesitation caught me. He had changed suddenly, almost too suddenly. Did he suspect something? My acting was never good enough to fool him completely. I lowered my eyes, nodded quickly, and muttered, "Sure." So the date I had once longed for finally arrived, though not in the way I imagined. I wore jeans and a plain t-shirt, no makeup, nothing special. He reached for my hand first, fingers lacing through mine with uncharacteristic urgency. "Don't be angry anymore," he said softly. "I really did erase Olivia. I won't talk to her again." My hand felt ice cold in his grasp, discomfort flooding me, but I smiled anyway. Whispering, "I made mistakes too." That night before we parted, he handed me a small box. Inside lay a bracelet, silver, engraved with 2 words, "Start over." He told me it meant a new beginning. I stared at the polished metal, unsure if it was a gift or a chain. Perhaps in his way, Ryan Hale had truly begun to love me. But it didn't matter. Tomorrow was the day I would destroy him. The morning of the competition arrived, the campus buzzing with pride and anticipation. Ryan walked into the auditorium with the calm air of someone born to win. But the seat beside him remained empty. The ticket he had given me stayed unused. I had not followed him inside. He had felt it for days, that shift in me. The way I smiled but never reached him, the way I spoke gently but looked at him like a stranger. He told himself it was stress, told himself I still loved him, but deep down he knew. Something had changed since the day I typed the words "we're over" on that forum. His roommate had whispered that while Ryan disappeared for a week, I never once went searching. That when I faced Olivia again, I didn't fight, didn't cry. That I repeated over and over, that we were finished. For the first time, Ryan tasted fear, the fear of losing me. What began as revenge on Dylan had somehow shifted into something real. He had played games with my heart, but somewhere along the way, he began to want it for himself. For years, he flaunted our so-called relationship online, only to mock me, but this time, he longed to post the truth. He wanted everyone to know we were together. He had even bought the bracelet engraved "Start Over," planning to pair it with the medal. He was certain he would win. His plan was perfect. Stand on the stage, declare victory, place the bracelet on my wrist, and finally confess to me, not as a joke, not as revenge, but as a man in love. He didn't know that my plan had already been set in motion. The contest unfolded, hours of tension and triumph. When the judges announced his name as champion, the hall erupted in applause. Ryan rose, shaking hands, smiling that rare, brilliant smile. His teacher called him to the stage. He moved forward, medal gleaming in the spotlight, heart pounding not with pride but with anticipation. He searched the crowd, certain I would appear, and then I did. I stepped inside as the cheers reached their peak. But I wasn't alone. 2 uniformed police officers walked behind me, their faces stern. The applause faltered, confusion rippling through the room. "Ryan Hale," one officer announced, "you are under investigation for illegal cyber intrusion and destruction of data. You are also accused of distributing private images online. You are hereby placed under arrest." The room gasped. His world crumbled in an instant. He stood frozen, medal still in hand, words stuck in his throat. His professor's voice urged him forward, but his legs refused to move. He could only watch as the officers approached, as the whispers grew, as his carefully built image shattered around him. When they took hold of his arms, reality struck. His head snapped toward me, eyes burning. "Isabella," he demanded, his voice hoarse, "are you doing this just to punish me? Or is it because you really don't love me anymore?" I said nothing, not a word. I didn't even flinch. My silence was louder than any answer. As they led him away, applause still hanging awkwardly in the air, Ryan Hale finally understood what he had lost. The future he thought was untouchable, the girl he believed would never leave the arrogance that kept him blind, all gone. And he realized too late that it had been his own hands that destroyed everything. The coldness in my eyes had told him everything. Ryan Hale was sentenced to 3 years in prison, his brilliant future shattered by his own hand. By the time he walked free, I was already overseas. Tracy sometimes mentioned him to me almost reluctantly. She said he had learned carpentry while serving his sentence, but he still obsessed over the idea of pursuing graduate school, as if clinging to a life that no longer existed. She told me he spiraled into madness after release, searching for me everywhere, harassing anyone who had ever known me. At one point, he even coded a virus that hijacked every digital billboard in Tempe, flooding the city with a single desperate message, his declaration of love for me. Within days, the police arrested him again. After that, I no longer wanted to hear his name. The more I heard, the more absurd it became. I had once fallen for him at first sight, never questioning his character, never doubting his worth. That blind devotion had been my disease, but I had been cured. And unlike other illnesses, this one left no scars. Now I love no one more than myself. Life was too vibrant, too precious to waste, shackled to love. I had no interest in being bound again. If the right man ever appeared, he would find me walking forward, not waiting in place. At an art exhibition one afternoon, I stumbled upon a painting that stopped me cold. A golden retriever with a single eye stared back from the canvas, its fur shining like sunlight, its gaze hauntingly familiar. The title read Stone, the artist Dylan Hale. The name hit me with a jolt. The dog in the painting looked exactly like the stray I once sketched in high school during a landscape field trip. I had named that pup Stone, and here it was grown into a loyal beast, immortalized by another's hand. That night I pulled out my phone and typed his name into the search bar. His profile appeared simple and bare, his avatar nothing but the image of a dog. I scrolled through his feed. Nothing. He had left no trace of his life. We had barely known each other back then. During that field trip, he wasn't even officially part of our group. He had been sitting alone sketching quietly until our teacher noticed his work and insisted he join us. Everyone admired his raw talent. We added him to our group chat, exchanged WeChat contacts. He messaged me once, just a polite introduction, and then nothing more. Still, I remembered him. In a way, Ryan and Dylan shared a resemblance, both intense, both brilliant, but Dylan carried a warmth Ryan never had. Later, I heard Dylan had won a national prize for portraiture, his name whispered with admiration in art circles. But my memories of him ended there, until now. I hesitated, then opened our old chat and typed, "Hi, this is Isabella." Almost 24 hours passed before he replied. "Sorry, I was painting and didn't check my phone. This is Dylan." I snapped a picture of the dog painting and sent it to him. "Did you take Stone?" And his response came instantly. "Yes. You still remember him?" Seeing that piece must have triggered it. "He's well now, gentle as ever. If you'd like, you can come visit. Or if that's too much, I can send you photos anytime." I stared at the message far too long. I wanted to ask about the sketchbook, about the rumors I'd once heard, that every page had been filled with drawings of me. But I couldn't bring myself to. It was too strange, too intimate. Instead, I typed the safest words I could. "Thank you, that would be nice." During the winter holiday, I visited my old high school art teacher. He spread out a stack of old student paintings for us to flip through, each one tinged with nostalgia, edges frayed, colors fading. And then I saw it. A portrait of a girl with a ponytail, lips curved in a faint smile. "That one's you," the teacher said casually. I froze. "Me? Yes, Dylan painted it." "Take it if you like. He's famous now, you know. Someday it'll be worth something." I lifted the portrait closer, comparing it to my own reflection. It didn't look like me, not really. The lines were softer, the smile brighter, the eyes warmer. My classmates around me shook their heads, agreeing. "No, it doesn't resemble her much." But the teacher only chuckled knowingly. "It's her." I watched him paint every stroke. His skill wasn't mature then, but every detail came from studying her. He carried 5 tubes of white paint every trip because she always forgot hers. He said it was for her, every time. The memory stabbed at me with tenderness. I remembered borrowing paint once or twice, never realizing what it meant. I pressed the portrait to my chest, hiding the swell of emotions rising inside me. "I don't really remember," I said, softly deflecting. And then I moved on to the next painting, pretending my heart wasn't trembling. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.